Good morning, everyone, and happy holidays again. Welcome to the Early Edge, brought to you by BetMGM, the sports book born in Vegas. I see the chat is already buzzing. A ton of comments, some Boxing Day comments. Somebody has to educate me. I feel really ignorant. Tell me what Boxing Day is. I've heard of it. I know it's a Blink-182 song. That's all I know about Boxing Day. I do know, however, that our recap screen looked pretty good from Friday. So let's take a look at that. We've got a great show for you today, by the way. The recap screen, I believe, shows 4-1. Maybe we don't have it at the moment. There we go. 4-1. Mike McClure hits his. I hit my Jordan Love. That was a sweat, by the way. He was slinging it early. Larry hits his tackle prop, as he often does. And SportsLine goes 1 for 2. A lot of winning days lately. Of course, we pepper in a losing day here and there. But I got to say, over the last 7-10 days, it's been way more winning days than losing days. You'll love to see it around the holidays. All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's go ahead and bring in the stars of the show. We've got a really cool cast today. One of my favorite people that you don't get to see in the morning usually, Jason La Canfora, otherwise known as JLC. And then, of course, we've got Larry Hartstein joining us, the maestro. I will say tomorrow, it's a weird week, right? Tomorrow, we've got the regular BPE cast with Buckets, Mike McClure, and Chip Patterson. So I know everybody's looking forward to that. We got a lot of college football to talk about, NFL. Jason, how you doing today?
I'm doing all right. Loving what I've had cooking in the midweek game so far, and got a lot of strong feelings about tonight's game as well. And I like the NBA slate. If you're into that stuff, check it out on SportsLine. Got some pretty strong feelings there as well. So, yeah, let's keep it going.
Larry, one thing we know that JLC is going to guarantee us is strong feelings, because before we got into the show, we were talking about the MVP, and Jason was fired up. He's got some takes. Anyway, we'll get to that in a second. How you doing today?
I'm doing great. There was some football on yesterday. It wasn't very competitive, but I thought we saw the elite of the AFC continue to separate themselves. You know, you're looking at those top three teams, Chiefs, Bills, Ravens, in terms of who's going to make it out of the conference.
By the way, it looks like we have an error on the recap screen. No big deal. It was not 4-1, though. It looks like it might have been 3-2. I'm looking at the chat right now, so apologies there. Some holiday mistakes. It looks like instead of 4-1, we were 3-2. Of course, UTSA, I think, was the issue. They didn't cover the first quarter, but they absolutely ran away with it later on. So we did lose that Mike McClure bet. 3-2, still a winning day. Larry, not as compelling as 4-1, I got to admit, but thank you in the chat for correcting that mistake. The last thing we want to do is give you an incorrect recap screen. Jason, okay, a lot of people thought they were correct by touting Josh Allen as the NFL MVP for weeks and weeks and weeks. And in their defense, he's still at most books around -250 to win the thing. But oh, looky here, who's catching up? The guy that was a big-time long shot just a few weeks ago at like +7, +800. Talk to me about the MVP race and one Lamar Jackson overtaking Josh Allen for back-to-back.
Well, I mean, look, this may be an anomaly. It may be an outlier. We may have reached a point where a quarterback playing in a very tough division on a team that's likely to win the division will accomplish historically significant feats, multiple across the board, like winning the Triple Crown, like doing it while averaging more yards per attempt than anybody in the league. So it's not check down Charlie. It's not a pop gun offense. He may win awards and has already passed Mike Vick, right, for the all-time rushing mark. And he may continue to lead the league in what he does rushing the football at his position while having his best season ever, despite winning 2 previous MVPs. He's doing things that Steve Young did in his prime in MVP seasons, and Aaron Rodgers did for a hot minute in an MVP season, and Peyton Manning did in terms of the number of passes, the number of touchdowns, and then the number of interceptions. Like, it may be a year where everybody just feels so sorry for Josh Allen that he doesn't have one of these sitting on his mantle, that they give it to him despite no numerical argument you could really make that he's been better. You would be defaulting to, it's his turn, and wins, 2 more wins in a crappy division than Lamar Jackson. But other than that, if you look at any metric, like touchdowns, like yards per attempt, like interception ratio, like what he did against Josh Allen, like what he's done against common opponents, and who's going to be finishing hot, which right now looks like Lamar Jackson. And I got news for you. Josh Allen might struggle a little bit against the Jets this weekend. He tends to struggle a little bit against the Jets, especially when he's a double-digit favorite, and they don't have anything left to play for, and Lamar does in Week 18. I hope you've been jumping on these Lamar Jackson values because the market, to me, has been way over its skis about this being Josh Allen's award that he apparently already won 2 weeks ago.
Larry, I do want to get to our picks. We got a lot of football picks, but with that said, I got to get your reaction. I mean, JLC Esquire just laying out the case, bullet point after bullet point, and it was all pretty compelling. Your argument for the leader in the clubhouse, Josh Allen.
Yeah, it was pretty compelling, even though I know he's coming to us live from probably right outside the Ravens Stadium. And I love Lamar Jackson more.
I'm a big Ravens fan.
More than anyone, and I think the Ravens are going to win the AFC, and he probably deserves the award. But this is not about who deserves it. It's about who you should bet on, who's going to get the award. And when this market got a little lower than it is right now, people started to hammer Josh Allen again, because as long as they beat the Jets, the Patriots, and the Jets in the final 2 weeks, they're going to be the number 2 seed, or they're going to wrap up the number 2 seed, and they're going to finish ahead of Baltimore. And you have that signature win against the Chiefs, the only team that's beaten the Chiefs, and the signature play of that game. And he's playing hurt down the stretch, and he has fewer weapons than Lamar Jackson, and he's never won the award. You already said it. They're going to not feel sorry for him, but they believe it's his turn and it's his time. So yes, Lamar probably deserves it. He's having a season for the ages. He's a thrill to watch play, but I think Josh Allen is the only play to make. And I wish this was lower than minus 250 right now. I heard some people grabbing it at minus 175 or, less than minus 200 when Lamar was going nuts yesterday. I wish I could still grab that price on Josh Allen.
Two very, very compelling arguments. By the way, Joe, Jason, as far as I know, is not a lawyer, but he just laid out the case like a lawyer. So that's what I was referring to there. All right, let's finally, we could debate this all day. And there's a lot of people in the chat that have takes, some even just jumping in with Saquon deserves it. We know he's not going to win. I think it's like plus 1,400 there, but a lot of compelling arguments for Lamar and Josh. We'll see how it plays out. But let's finally get into some picks. Larry, start us off. So you saw the recap screen. You love those defensive props. You're so very good at them. We've got the Bears tonight against the Seahawks. Jason and I are in agreement on some plays in this one. By the way, we've got a college football and an NBA SportsLine pick to offer you later today. But Larry, start us off with Thursday night football. You got another defense prop.
Yeah, I bet Tyrese Knight over 6.5 tackles and assists. This is the rookie linebacker for the Seahawks. He wasn't playing much to start the year, and you remember how bad their defense was. And Mike McDonald, about midway, trades for Ernest Jones and puts Tyrese Knight, the rookie, next to him. And those guys are on the field pretty much all the time. Tyrese Knight, sometimes he'll have 80 to 90% of the snaps, but he's very good in coverage. That's what I love about him. If you've watched him play, he's like a missile out there, the way he can cover receivers and running backs. So he's not only going to make tackles in the running game, but the Bears have actually been running a lot of plays. They've been moving the chains. They're averaging over 63 plays a game, and they're snapping the ball pretty fast. So that gives us more plays. The Seahawks are also snapping the ball pretty fast. I believe they're both top 5 in that metric. So we're going to get the play volume that we need to get to 7 tackles and assists. He's started 6 games. He's cleared this number 5 times. He's had double digits twice. I just love this kid. I love watching him play, and I'm going to go over 6.5.
All right, we're going over 6.5. A lot of takes on this game in the chat. We're going to have a lot more takes on this game after the break that we're about to have. But before we go there, I got to tell you, if you're new to the show, maybe you don't know about this promo. New BetMGM customers can sign up today and get up to $1,500 in bonus bets. Just place your first wager of at least $10 and you'll receive up to $1,500 instantly if your bet loses with bonus code EDGE. That's bonus code EDGE, EDGE. All right, we got to get to some picks from Jason, some picks from me, some SportsLine picks. You all have to hit the like button, and you can do it during this message from our partners. We are back on the Early Edge, brought to you by BetMGM, the sportsbook born in Vegas. JLC, it's time for your picks. Before we get there, looks like Gipper's picks likes the Seattle team total over 23.5. I think it was David Talk Maestro that said he loves your play. JLC, you have 3 plays, and I absolutely love the first one. I actually like all of them, but the first one I really like. If you remember SportsLine, you know why. I know you've got this on SportsLine as well. Jason, what's your play? Or what's your plays?
Well, I love Seattle in the first half for starters. Like I've talked to a lot of people in the league, and you can go back to my reporting at the Washington Post weeks ago. Thomas Brown is miscast entirely in this role as interim head coach. Like people I know who've worked with him say he's a good guy. He would never run my offense, let alone run my football team. But that's where the Chicago Bears are. And if you thought they were ill-equipped to play under Matt Eberflus, my God, I hope you've watched the last 3 weeks because it's a hold my keg moment, not a hold my beer moment. I mean, we're talking about 13-0, 24-0. 27-14 with that second touchdown to get them to 14 already in garbage time, because that's the kind of beat down the Lions we're putting on them. The defense, much like the Jets when they fired Robert Saleh, whatever you thought about that guy as a head coach, not much. He held the defense in check. The Jets' defense collapsed. Chicago's defense has collapsed to another degree since they got rid of Eberflus. This is a do-or-die spot for Seattle. Geno Smith on the road, much better than at home. I don't see the Bears putting up much resistance until maybe it gets ugly. So I love the 2.5 for Seattle in the first half. I also like Seattle to win this game by more than 4 points, but the Bears do get a little, like when nothing's left to play for, they get a little spry, and I don't know, the back door might be a little bit ajar for them. So I prefer the first half. I think Geno will be chucking the ball all over the place. Chicago's pass defense has allowed 2 or more passing touchdowns in 4 of the last 5 games. I like Geno with their run game beat up and their running backs beat up and their O-line shaky. I like Geno to take it into his own hands and throw a couple touchdowns today. Good plus money on that. And Jackson Smith and Jigba is the vital cog in that attack. You still have to worry about Lockett. You have to worry about Metcalf. But he is the main man. And you look at his averages on the road. He's getting at least 7 catches a game on average, over 74 yards. He's over this total a lot on the road. And just look at the targets since week 8. He has 32 more targets than anybody else. He's so difficult to defend in the slot, but they can move him around in motion as well, try to fight for certain matchups. I think Geno will be featuring him a lot in this game, and it would not surprise me if Seattle beat these guys by multiple scores.
Totally agree. I think this show's done a good job of, honestly, we could have probably done a better job of fading the Bears, but Jason, I was this first half play. Listen, there's no locks, right? And the Bears are at home, and Caleb plays a little bit better at home, and all those things. But this is a play I had 10 days ago against Minnesota. We took Minnesota minus 3.5. We added the hook in their first half because the Bears don't do anything in the first half. And for all those people who are like, oh, hey, Caleb looked good last game, it's usually when they're down, Jason, like you said, 24-0, 31-0. And then all of a sudden, Caleb is slinging it against a prevent defense that doesn't really care anymore and is sitting their starters. So, Seahawks have a lot to play for. This actually just kind of segues nicely into my play. Like I said, I'm in agreement with JLC. I like all of his picks, frankly. Seahawks first half minus 2.5, though. I'm going right back to the well here. It's just a situation where I'm not going to say the Bears have given up, because players on the field generally don't give up. Seahawks have a lot to play for, and the Bears haven't played well really since losing to Washington, since their bye. I don't think they've covered a first half line since their bye. I know when I gave out this pick 10 days ago, they certainly hadn't. And over the last 2 weeks, I don't think they have either. So we're going right back to it. I think there's some questions in the chat on, well, would you take it at -3? The answer, I need to know. I assume at -3, it's like -110 and no more prohibitive than that. Yes is the answer. Obviously, if you can find the 2.5s, that's great. I know on SportsLine, this is part of the reason to become a member of SportsLine is you get our picks when we make them and when we put them out, and you could have found some 2.5s. If it's 3, I still like it. I expect them to be winning by 4 or more. JLC, your response to that, if it's -3 and let's say it's -110, even -115, how you feeling about that?
I would still roll with it. If I'm making one wager on this game, I would still lean into that. I know there's obvious push potential. Chicago's a -90 first half point differential on the year. Like the Browns are worse, and like Carolina's worse, and the Giants are worse, but that's it. And look at Seattle. I know they've lost lately, recency bias. Look at who they've played, right?
Yeah.
Like they've played legitimate teams. Green Bay. They ran the gauntlet in that division, right? Minnesota. They lost to the Rams. Like the Rams are going to win that division. Like it's not the end of the world. I just think they're a better team, and I expect them to play for their young head coach today and show some fire, or tonight, I should say.
Yeah, Larry, losing to Green Bay, no shame in that. I've been on record as saying I think Green Bay might very well win the NFC. I was in the SportsLine Discord saying 3 weeks ago, take Green Bay at plus 1,100 to win the NFC. It's now plus 600 in most places. So no shame in that one. They almost beat Minnesota. You could make the argument last week that they should have beat Minnesota. So I do think this Seahawks team, even though Geno tends to throw that just terrible ball in the red zone, and flips the game. Outside of that, I think this is a pretty good above average Seattle Seahawks team who still has playoff viability, particularly if the Cardinals beat the Rams this week as 6-point dogs. Your response to this line, it doesn't have to be the first half, but this line in general at -4 and this game in general, I know you have the defensive prop. Anything else you're keeping an eye on for this game?
Yeah, definitely would lean Seattle if you can find a 3.5. I like the first half look that you guys have. They've been much better on the road this season. The Bears defense has cratered, over the past several weeks. They were pretty solid the first half of the season. Yeah. They've absolutely cratered. And so it's definitely all pointing towards the Seahawks tonight.
All right. All pointing to the Seahawks. Sports line picks. Let's get to those, and then I'll look for questions in the chat that perhaps we haven't gotten to yet. I'm seeing an anytime touchdown at plus 800 KC3, but I'm not sure. Oh, Travis Homer revenge game. That's pretty funny. Travis Homer revenge game, anytime touchdown plus 800. What's also funny is when the Bears played last week against the Lions, I had a plus 4,500 parlay, same game parlay that I put out on Twitter, gentlemen. And it was one leg away from hitting. I just needed the Bears to backdoor cover 10.5. I had alternate spread there. A lot of people in this chat were on that. Bears had the ball. We're driving. We're near the red zone. 2nd and 4. Incomplete from Caleb Williams, and we don't end up covering that. If everybody in the chat, if you want me to put out another SGP tonight, maybe on Twitter, before the game, put in SGP in the chat. If I see enough of those, maybe we'll get another plus 4,500 fired up. Sportsline pick, college football. We got a college football game tonight, and Bruce Marshall has a college football pick on Sportsline, and it's Toledo plus 7 at -105. That's our college football pick. Obviously, a lot of other college football picks on Sportsline. And then we've got an NBA pick. JLC just said, hey, I've got a lot of NBA picks up on Sportsline. This is not one of them, but he does have a lot of picks. Go ahead, and I know Rick Funcannon has been tailing. He said in the chat he's been tailing Jason to some green. We're going with the Bulls plus 6.5 at -110. So 2 Sportsline picks: Toledo plus 7, it's bowl season, -105, and the Bulls plus 6.5 at -110. Larry, as I scan the chat here before we get to the recap screen, was there anything you needed to respond to football-wise or otherwise? And I did mention Discord. I think you have something to say about Discord as well.
Yeah, if you want some extra picks, you got to check out the Discord. Jeff Hockman, who actually owns a horse, and his horse was in the Breeders' Cup, one of the lower races of the Breeders' Cup, I should say. He has put out a pick for Santa Anita today. That's in the Discord under the exclusive Insights channel. Jeff Hockman is full of information and knows the horses about as well as anyone. There's also RJ White giving a lot of NFL advice, cashed a bunch of live stuff yesterday during the games. That's all in the Discord. You just go to sportsline.com, the homepage, and click join the community. Today at 3:00, Prop Stars will be in there talking all about NBA props. There's a very big slate tonight. I mean, he's off to a 42-21 start in the NBA, up about 16 or 17 units. So he'll be there at 3:00, mostly NBA, but he will also give some NFL props if you want to ask him about that. 3:00 in the Discord.
All right. Andy Sue, we see your comment about UTSA bet lost. Yeah, we caught that. You probably fast forwarded through the beginning of the show, or maybe you're behind a little bit. Either way, 3-2, still a winning day on the recap screen. But thank you for letting us know, everybody, on that. And we caught it. We'll take another winning day. 3-2 will work. Joe Neuenfeld says, I want a SIA SGP for every NFL game. That would take some time, but also be probably a little irresponsible, if I'm being honest. Danny Brasco is in the chat. He is as sharp as they come in the NFL. So ask away on any NFL or UFC, you name it. Danny Brasco can answer it. All right, let's finally get to the recap screen here. Let's see what our picks are. Seahawks first half for me, -2.5. And JLC is also on the Seahawks first half, -2.5 at -110. JLC agrees. This is -3 at your book. I would still play it. He's expecting a 4-point lead or more at halftime. JLC is also on Geno Smith over 1.5 passing touchdowns at plus 126, and JSN, Jackson Smith and Jigba, over 70.5 receiving yards at -118. Larry Hartstein, Seahawks linebacker Tyrese Knight over 6.5 tackles and assists at -125, and 2 SportsLine picks, including a bowl game tonight. College football, Toledo +7, -105, and NBA Bulls +6.5 at -110. Dano says, smash that like. We always appreciate everybody smashing the like button. Appreciate all the participation. And yes, I see all the SGPs in the chat. I will have to fire one up tonight. Ladies and gentlemen, again, hopefully you had a great holiday season. It continues on to next week. And tomorrow, we've got the Friday BPE crew back. Chip Patterson, Mike McClure, Buckets. Really looking forward to that. Really looking to Thursday night football tonight. No primetime show tonight, but those will be back very soon. Hope everybody has a great Thursday. On behalf of Jason Laconfora, on behalf of Larry Hartstein, Claire on the 1s and 2s and 3s and 4s, helping out this show, controlling this show. We cannot do it without her. I'm the counselor of Cash Sia Najad. This is The Early Edge. We rest our case.